Hello, I hope you're doing well, and in today's video, I will be reviewing Max Payne 2. Before we begin, if you would like to see more content like this, then please like and subscribe. As usual, I will start off with the story, and these are not my words, and I will link the synopsis in the description down below. The brooding cop has left the DEA and returned to the NYPD. When his latest case ends up involving the thought-dead femme fatale, Mona Sachs, he finds that his journey through the night is far from over. His journey into the night continues as Max Payne returns to his old job with the NYPD and finds that old friends have turned to new enemies and old enemies to new friends, while at the same time falling for a woman that he knows he should not. There's not much to say about the story of this game besides the fact that, unfortunately, again, the story seems to be very hard to follow. I might even go as far as saying that it was more confusing than the first game. In the first part of the game, I couldn't tell if this was a sequel or a prequel to Max Payne. Throughout the story, I did end up figuring out that this was a sequel, but they really did not make it clear in the first place. The only part of the story that I truly seemed to understand was the love story, and that was it. I wouldn't take this as true criticism, because it might be that I just didn't understand it, and you might understand it better yourself. If you watched my review for Max Payne 1, then you will know I had some things to say about the sound. My main complaint about the sound in the first game was the fact that the music was much louder than the voice acting, and it was sometimes hard to hear what the characters had to say. I am happy to say that there is no such problem in Max Payne 2. In the first Max Payne, while you were in the cutscenes, there was always music playing. In Max Payne 2, there is almost never music playing. Instead, what they have are more sound effects than music, and I really like that. The graphics get a major upgrade in this game. The lighting is different, the movement of the characters are different, and the overall look and feel of the game is of much higher quality. I would like to point out something that I didn't really like about this game. I'm not sure why, but they changed the way Max Payne looks. Max Payne looks, at least to me, a lot different than he did in the first game. In no way does it ruin the game. It's just something that I noticed at first, and it was very weird because it didn't feel like Max Payne, but after a while I got used to it. There's not really a lot in terms of content, but I guess I can tell you about some of the weapons that are in the game. There are a few new weapons, but that's pretty much it for new stuff. They have a special new shotgun, they have MP5s, and they also have Spaz 12s, and that's really it for new weapons. A lot of the weapons seem to work exactly the same as they did in the first game. The shotguns are useful for close range attacks, the AK-47, and they are very useful for ranged attacks, as well as the sniper rifle. The pistols are honestly very good for any range, as long as you've got the aiming to back it up. I found that the gameplay was a lot more polished in this game. I say this because in the first game, it might have been just me being bad at the game, but I did die quite a lot in the first game. But in this game, I died a lot less. I think the reason for this is because it had better level design. There are a lot more places where you can take cover, and it is easier to find enemies. I also wanted to take the time to talk about the bullet time. Bullet time has changed dramatically. Luckily, it hasn't changed for the worse, but it did take some time to get used to. You see, in the first game, when you were in bullet time, you could dodge and it would slow down time. In Max Payne 2, it just slows down time. I've actually noticed that it slows down time a lot better in this game than it did in the first one, and it's also easier to control your weaponry when you're in bullet time. Another thing that I noticed was the fact that most of the locations were never reused. I can only think of 2 different locations that were reused. In the first game, a lot of the locations were reused. I'm assuming this was to save up on space, just so they can extend the game long enough so it was playable. The main difference in this game, when the locations are reused, is the fact that when you went back to those locations, they were set up much differently. For instance, when you return to where Mona was, the building is on fire, where the first time you go in it, it was not. So you have to take different ways to get to certain places in the same location. I personally don't mind when a location is used more than once, but as long as they are set up differently, so then the outcome of the level is different. So how do I feel about Max Payne 2, The Fall of Max Payne? To be honest, I did not like it as much as the first Max Payne. I'm not sure if it's because of the nostalgia or what, but for some reason I enjoyed Max Payne more than Max Payne 2. Just because I say that doesn't mean it's a bad game. It really is not a bad game. It's a great game, in fact. If you noticed in this review, I didn't have one negative thing to say about the game. Okay, maybe I said one negative thing, but that didn't affect the gameplay or how the story works. Yes, the story was a bit confusing again, which was very unfortunate, but otherwise, the game was great. I know I didn't have a lot to say about this game, but it's the fact that Max Payne 1 and 2 are a lot alike. The only main differences are the story, characters, and locations, and that's pretty much it. Anyways, the next game that I will be reviewing will be Max Payne 3. Thank you all so much for watching, and see you in the next review.